Hi, it's Dorothy Guiney with Scrapbooking Quebec. Welcome to another video in my series, Stampin' Up! Scrapbooking. Today I will create a double page layout featuring Stampin' Up's Meant to Be collection. It's an online exclusive collection that was released in January 2025. Everything I use will be listed below along with my link to Stampin' Up. If you live in Canada and use the link, I will get a commission. If you have a local demonstrator, please support him or her. But if you don't and something catches your eye, thank you very much. Before jumping in, let's have a look at my jumping off point. It's one of the 8 sketches found on page 28 of the 2025-2026 annual catalog. My inspiration is this one, and my plan is to stretch it into a double page spread by stretching it to the left and adding more photos. One more thing, as much as this collection appealed to me when I bought it, especially the color family, I found myself stumped every time I tried to play with it. So today I'm going to talk you through my thought process and explain how I overcame this hurdle. Let's get started. Here's what's on my table. I'm showing you the Meant to Be paper pack with stickers. So you can see there are pattern papers, lots of bumblebees here, and the flip side is a tone on tone. I also have the sticker sheet. Now you can also buy this collection as just a paper pack, no stickers, and it does come in the workshop form. So in the workshop form, you have pattern paper, solid paper, stickers, additional embellishments. There's also step-by-step instructions with cutting guides for creating 3 double page spreads. You can see I'm bringing in another paper pack. This one is called Botanical Textures. This one was another online exclusive release. I think it came out in March 2025. So one side is botanicals, the flip side a tone on tone, and all very neutral. So white, black, and gray. I'm bringing this one in for a specific purpose. I mentioned that I had some trouble with the Meant to Be paper pack. Part of it had to do with the intensity of the colors. So I'm bringing in this black paper to help tone it down, but I'm going to talk about that later on. I'll show you what else I have on my table. So I have 2 pieces of Willow white cardstock. That's going to be my foundation page. And I did narrow down my paper. So I have that green tone on tone and the bumblebee paper. And I also have that black and white tone on tone paper. In addition to that, I have a bunch of scraps of paper. And I did mat my photos in advance. So I have 6 photos. 3 of them are matted in white cardstock and 3 of them are double matted. So white cardstock and black two-tone cardstock. Here are some of the tools. I do dig into some others a bit later on in the process. I have the Be My Valentine stamp and punch set. I also have the Weekend Adventure stamp set, and that I will be using it for my title. So what I'm going to do is toss all of this aside. You're going to see that off camera I did cut my papers, and you can see I'm finishing up inking. The ink I'm using is Morning Mist by VersaFine Claire. So I will put measurements for all of these page parts on the screen later on in the process. When I adhere it to the page, it will make more sense then. But right now, what I'm going to do is place them on my foundation page to just give you an idea how I plan to move forward with it. So as you can see on the right-hand page, I'm more or less following the sketch. The only difference is, in addition to that wide green strip of paper, I'm adding 2 narrow strips at the top of it and the bottom of it. Basically, I'm carrying over that horizontal band over onto the left-hand page, and in between that, I have a vertical strip of paper, that black paper, and that's going to house extra photos. What I'm going to do right now is place my photos on the page just to give you an idea, and I am again following the sketch. The photos on the right page are placed in the middle. The only difference is I have 2 different size photos as opposed to 2 identical photos. You can see I have a strip of photos on the left page and 1 photo on the far left. Now let's talk about paper. There's 2 things that kind of threw me off with this Meant to Be collection. Number 1, The bumblebees are cute, but bordering on cutesy. I like cute, but I don't like cutesy, and I find this right on the border. So, also, there's another thing, the contrast in the colors. I love that old olive. I love the Petunia Pop, which is that strong pink, that strong fuchsia, but together they are intense. And for me, when colors are too intense, it throws me off. It's just a personal thing. So for that reason, I am bringing in the black. I'm pointing out what it would look like with the pink here. I love it. But the thing is, it brings, for me, too much attention to that area where I'm putting the pink. Also, I'm going to try it with the solid pink. That is Petunia Pop, two-tone cardstock. It's a bit better than the one with the little white flowers, but still, it's quite intense. So for that reason, I am using the black. And with regards to the bumblebee paper, the reason why I'm not using it in a huge chunk, number one, I find my photos pop off the page more when it's the green tone on tone underneath. And I found that my photos kind of got lost in that bumblebee paper. But I do like that bumblebee paper. So for that reason, I am using it in smaller quantities. So how did I deal with my problems here? Basically, for the cutesiness, the printed paper, I'm using it in smaller bits. I do like it, but I don't want it to overwhelm my page. And for the contrast between the green and the pink, which I found overwhelming, I added black instead of the pink. But you're going to see I like that pink, so I'm going to use that later on in much smaller quantity. So I'm reserving that color, which I do love, for smaller quantities. Now you can see I've moved ahead to adhering. So I started by adhering all of those horizontal strips together. Then I adhered it to the foundation page, and I did the same thing over on the left. And in between the two pages, I have that vertical strip of black paper. And for the positioning of the horizontal strip, there's a little bit more space at the top. So that is about 2 inches from the top, and at the bottom, roughly 1 3/4 inches. Now you can see I have placed all of my photos on the page. And again, I am more or less following the sketch for the right-hand page. I center those photos. Off camera, I went ahead and adhered them. I'm showing you that on the right-hand page, their positioning of the photos is about 2 inches in from each side. For that vertical strip of paper, I'm showing you that for the photos, I adhered the photo on the bottom, then the one on the top, making sure that the margins to the outer edges were equal. Then I basically eyeballed it and positioned the photo in the middle. The photo on the far left, I positioned it a bit towards the middle. It's off screen right now because I know I will be adding embellishing in that area. What I'm going to do right now is create some embellishments. So I have that Be My Valentine punch and stamp set. So what I am doing is stamping the bee stripes on Daffodil Delight two-tone cardstock. I could have done it on white cardstock because if you look at the stamp set, there's like an oval there. I could have stamped that out in yellow and then did black on top of it. Instead, I chose to do it on this Daffodil Delight cardstock, and now you can see I am punching it out. I'm pointing out on the stamp set there are little faces for the bumblebees, again, bordering on the cutesy, but I do like it, and I am stamping the faces. I have a little bit of trouble because I didn't stamp this bee on a big enough piece of paper, but I do manage. Anyway, what I'm pointing out here is that when I stamp the faces on the bumblebees, if I want them to go in both directions, I just flip one on the other side. I'm pointing that out because the first time I did this, I did all of my bees in the same direction. So just be aware that it's the same shape, just flip it on the other side and you can have bees facing each other. Now what you see me doing is stamping out wings on that pool party two-tone cardstock, and then on that punch it's like a heart so you can punch it out. Now I've moved ahead. I am going to create some flowers here. So what I have here is ink. I have Petunia Pop, Daffodil Delight, along with some blending brushes and white cardstock, and I have 2 punches. So I have a small flower punch. It's a retired one from Stampin' Up, and as well as a small circle punch. all I am doing is adding a bit of ink with a blending brush to this white cardstock, and it's very chunky, and I'm not even paying attention to make it smooth. Basically, what I want to create here are flowers, and the fact that the inking is all unequal just adds to the flower. That is the look that I'm trying to create. I could have done it in solid cardstock as well with this punch, and it would have been very nice, but I wanted that kind of imperfect look for these flowers, so that's what I did. Also, you can see I got out another punch. It's called Tabs for Everything, and I punched myself out a few tabs, and I will be using that later on as well when I embellish my page. I am going to simply adhere the little dots to the middle of the flower. So you can see for the yellow flowers, I'm going to put in pink circles, and for the pink flowers, I'm putting in yellow circles, and I just used a little bit of liquid adhesive for that. And now what I'm going to do is stamp my title on white cardstock. I'm using a black ink. Again, it's called Nocturne. I don't think I mentioned it earlier. Another ink by VersaFine Claire. So this one is going to be saying, Taking the Scenic Route. It's from this Weekend Adventures stamp set. I will trim that off camera, and now I'm going to show you all of my embellishments. So you can see I stamped my title in a few colors because I'm not quite sure what color I want to use. I have the black, of course. I just cut it out into a narrow strip of paper, but I also did it in Old Olive and Petunia Pop. I'm just showing you the inks. I kind of mentioned it earlier, because I didn't add pink with my paper, I do want to add pops of pink later on when I embellish my page. So I'm very aware of that. I'm showing you I have a bunch of circles. Some of them have journaling on them, and I cut those circles out with these Spotlight on Nature dies. They're basically nesting circle dies with an embossed edging around them. I'm showing you I have a bunch of bees, way too many, but I will keep the leftovers and add them to my collection and use them for future projects. Also, I have a bunch of flowers, so a bunch of them in pink and others in yellow. So I'm going to be adding those to my clusters as well. Also, I'm showing you those tabs there. So I did end up stamping on top of those tabs, and I used a retired stamp set. I'll be getting it out in a moment. It's called Love This Moment. There's a bunch of little words and tiny icons. I stamped out memories along with a little camera. In addition to that, I'm showing you I have a bunch of leaves. So I have leaves in two different styles, and I used Old Olive two-tone cardstock. So you're going to see some of the leaves are darker than others. That's fun about that two-tone cardstock because you can use both sides. This is what I use, the Thankful Garden collection. So I use the standalone dies for the leaves. I'm showing you that this also comes with stamps along with coloring masks, but for today's project, I just used the standalone dies. In addition to that, I did punch out some more alphas. That's what I'm about to show you here. And I did it in Petunia Pop, that pink. Again, I definitely want to add more pink to this page. And you're going to see as well, I have them in green. So I used a die set. It's a current one from Stampin' Up called Mini Alpha Dies. And you can see it punches out the entire alphabet in one shot. I did the Petunia pink for this one, but the green ones are actually left over from a previous project. And because it cuts out the entire alphabet, and some of the alphabets are actually doubled, like there's a few A's and stuff like that, I just put them in a baggie and saved them for future projects. I also have these low profile sparkle dots. I'm showing you here some adhesive sheets. The alphas that I punched out with that mini alpha die set are all adhesive. So what I did was I backed the paper in those adhesive sheets, then I ran it through my die cutting machine. So now all of my alphas have like a wax paper behind them that you peel off, and then they are adhesive. I love doing that with the alphas. I also have the sticker sheet, of course. That was from the 12 by 12 paper pack. So what I'm going to do right now is start creating embellishment clusters. And according to the sketch, you can see there's like a little strip of paper at the bottom of the photos. That is where I'm going to be placing my title. On the sketch, it's centered. Mine's going to be a little bit tossed towards the right. Now what I'm doing is placing the 3 circles. Basically what I'm doing is establishing 3 areas where I will be creating embellishment clusters. You can see at the top there, that's where my journaling is. So I have that just above that B printed paper. I thought about putting it above my photo, but I decided to put it a little bit more up towards the top. I have the other one in the bottom right corner, and you can see underneath, if you look closely, I have the date there. I did it on my computer, printed it out, and I have it positioned right underneath my photo. And the third circle is over on the left. It's off screen right now. Right now I'm building the cluster in the bottom right. So I have that stamped out title, Taking the Scenic Route. At this point I have pink. Keep in mind I did it in green, pink, and black. At this point I'm going with pink. Then I come in with a few bumblebees. Now I'm tucking in some of the leaves. I'm not being too fussy here because everything is moving around. What I want to do is get a general idea of what I'm going to be putting in these clusters if I like it. And then when I go to adhere, I will be a little bit more purposeful when I go ahead and do that. So I know I will be adding a few of those little small flowers. Now I'm moving to the kitty corner. So the photo in the top left corner of the right page, adding a few leaves. This one I'm basically using repetition from the cluster in the bottom right, only I want this cluster to be smaller. Basically, when I create embellishment clusters, I like to have them in different sizes. Now I'm moving over to the far left page. So in the top left corner, same thing here, tucking in some leaves. I come in with some bumblebee at one point. You can see I forgot to add some flowers to that top cluster on the right page, so I added a few there. Now I'm back to the top left corner. At that point, I decide I don't want the bee on the right page towards the top. I felt like I had too many bumblebees. I guess it was that cutesiness overload for me. I can't have too many bumblebees, just enough bumblebees. I'm more or less happy with this. Now I do have these small alphas and I want to add another part of my title. I have them in 2 colors. What I want to spell out in a semicircle around my journaling is on our walk. So I'm trying it in the Petunia Pop, and I am aware that I do need that pop of pink on this page to make it look a bit more bright. The black really helps me tone down colors that I find overwhelming, but it risks making it too dull. That's why I knew in the back of my mind I was going to have to add pink, pops of pink to make it more, I don't know, bright and exciting. I did try the green, but in the end, I really do like the pink, so that's what I'm going with. You can see I put it back there, and now what you see me doing is just fussing around with the other part of the title. I'm once again trying the green as opposed to the pink, thinking maybe I'll come in with some of those border strips on the sticker sheet. But in the end, I decide to go with the pink at the bottom as well. Again, I'm trying to add more pink to this layout, pops of pink, just because I like it, number one, but I find that it is in smaller amounts, it's less overwhelming for me. So now I've moved ahead to adhering. I did have to trim that piece of paper with a stamped title. Now I adhered it literally on top of my photo. Now I'm coming in with a circle, and I'm going to speed this up quite a bit because I don't do anything fancy at all. I do exactly what I had done when I had placed all of these embellishments to the page, starting with the bumblebees there. There is one bumblebee, the one on top, which is popped up on foam adhesive. And I'm also just coming in with the leaves and again, just kind of tucking everything around, doing the same thing in the top left corner on this right page. Now what you see me doing is placing the title. So once again, I'm just placing it. I want to make sure that it's pretty much even around. So that's what I'm looking at. Once I'm happy with the placement, I'm going to start by adhering the beginning of the word on, and then I jump right ahead to the K so that I know where the title ends. And then what I did off camera is I filled in the letters in between. I'm showing you as well, I kind of played around a bit with the little flowers there. So I added a bit of yellow to that cluster at the bottom. I put 2 of the flowers in that top left corner on the right page. And now what I'm going to do is move over to the left page and start adhering this cluster. Again, basically, I will be doing exactly what I had already placed here, starting with the circle and then coming in with the leaves and coming in with the bumblebees there. And then, of course, a few flowers. I don't even think I added any foam adhesive to this cluster at all. That's pretty much it. So now I have my 3 clusters. They're more or less in 3 different sizes, and the biggest one is in the bottom right corner. I do like creating clusters in different sizes. And now what you see me doing is getting out these little templates. On that stamp set, Be My Valentine, there's like honeycombs as well as these little zigzags like a flight path from a bumblebee. So I tried out both of them, and I decided to go with the flight path from the bumblebee, and I put my templates in 3 spots, made a decision where I wanted to stamp, and now you can see that I'm stamping. So in the top left, I have one kind of going off the page. Now I'm going to go to the bottom right. You're going to also see me come in with a piece of scrap paper because everything is already adhered. I do lift the leaves a bit, but I don't want to stamp on top of pattern paper. That's why I am masking with a piece of scrap paper. And I do the very same thing at the top. You're going to see I kind of cover up that circle there and then use my stamp on top of it. And I really love how that little stamped detail adds something to the page. Now for further finishing touches, what I end up doing is I'm coming in with those little tabs there, and I decide to just tuck them in that cluster in the top left. I have one basically that's kind of behind the black photo mat, and the other one is kind of just behind the photo there. So I just made them at 2 different levels. And the only thing I'm thinking of doing now is coming in with those little low profile dots. But basically that's it. Here is my finished layout. Off camera, I added a border sticker from the sticker sheet just above that stamped title, and I added 3 low profile sparkle dots there. I felt that area needed just a little something more, and I'm happy with it now. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, I'd greatly appreciate a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, Scrapbooking Quebec, I would be thrilled if you did. And if you are a subscriber, thank you very much. Have a great day, and I will see you soon on YouTube. Bye-bye.